Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on!
Live from Raman Reti, Vrindavan Dham. Kijai. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Vrindavan. Another beautiful day in Vrindavan. Kaustubha's in Mayapur. All we need now is somebody in Jagannath Puri, and we covered all the major Gaudiya Vaishnava bases.
Yeah. Mara, that's for you.
I gotta go to Puri.
Go.
Go right now, Mara. You know, it's important. I tell you, I haven't been to India. Now's the time to hop on one of these trips we do or hop on a pilgrimage that I do because, you know, you know what I did? I took Mara for the first time on the full Vrindavan Prikram, which is...
Oh. What's
Yeah,
it
it's
like
like a-
now? Because
You know what?
Yeah.
Let me give you an example.
Maybe give the background first.
Okay, so there is what's called the Old Cowherd Boy Trail that went around the village of Vrindavan.
Punch Krosh
And-
Vrindavan.
Panch Krosh is a krosh is like 2 square miles. So Panch Krosh is 5 times 2 square miles. And so it's about a 2.5 hour walk. I meander, so I take long. I stop and I read and wander into temples and stuff like that. But the
I used
idea
to
is
do
you're
an hour and 45
circumambient.
minutes.
You should do it in 45 minutes. You know
Hour-
what? It's
hour
not a
50.
rush. There's no competition. There's no trophies, Kaustubha.
I'm
We
not
do
saying
this-
that there is. Nobody gave me a trophy. I wasn't expecting one either.
You didn't get a trophy for it? You should have. That's pretty darn fast.
Alright. No, that was just my standard because you wanted, that was anyway.
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. But I'm a meanderer man now. I meander, I stop, I read. But anyway, and it was sort of like, parts of it were like a road in the old days, but most of it wasn't. And
In other words, a lot of it was just a sandy trail rather than a
sandy
paved
trail. Exactly.
road that cars are going on.
And there is a bhakti explosion happening right now. And like there's temples. I mean, you walk down that path and you realize this is a very religious country. It's like every type of Vaishnav and their gurus and their sect and they have ashrams everywhere. And sometimes the ashrams are no bigger than a hut. And sometimes they're massive. And what me and Mara got to experience yesterday was, the palaces. We went to the king of Bhartpur and the queen of Bhartpur's palace on the Yamuna, Keshi Ghat. And like the kings from all over Rajasthan or Manipur, they would build palace temples and maintain them. And then they would go there with their entourage. That was their idea of, for a New Yorker having an upstate cabin to go to. They would go to the countryside and it's a holy town. It's their time for like, I'm a little off duty. I've just got my guards here watching me and I'm bringing my queen here. And we're just going to do puja and live a spiritual life. And you could almost romanticize what it must have been like, how beautiful it was. So anyway, of course, time marches on. And you know what this really reminds me of? In the Trader Joe's men's bathroom. I've never been in the women's bathroom in Trader Joe's, but in the men's bathroom, there, this is in Albany, New York. There's a giant picture of where Trader Joe's is from the 1950s. And it's like a beautiful farm. Like Albany was beautiful farms. Where the Albany airport was a gorgeous Shaker village. And now you'll never know. It's a congested strip malls everywhere filled with Trader Joe's and the like. And so it's sort of like, get to India now, because the holy places are still going to be there, but you're going to have to dig extra deep to find the people, places, temples. You know, it's like a lot of these temples that were tiny little temples have now become massive structures. And a lot of the beautiful old estates owned like by probably wealthy people who also have their country houses in Vrindavan. The land has been purchased and people just, you know, there's like a land grab and they're just building these things that are just a little grotesque, truthfully. And so anyway, it's sometimes hard to recognize. And I went searching for my old mentor, Hari Bhajan Das, his ashram today. I just could not find it because now the whole thing is paved. Huh?
Wow. Couldn't even locate it.
I couldn't locate it. That's how much things have changed. But there were places where, like, I know exactly where I am. Like, certain things would stand out. I knew exactly where I am. And then other things were like, where am I? And a lot of times the trail has actually shifted a little bit. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, come to Vrindavan and these places as soon as you can. Because when me and Kaustubha went there, which wasn't a long time ago, you know, there was like a one-lane road to get here. And now there's 2 super highways leaving the beltway around Delhi.
So my question to you was the experience of the Vrindavan, the Panchkrosh parikrama, walking around it. Is it like you're out there and the traffic is going by and the horns are honking? You're like, you just kind of like, oh,
yes. You know what? I had to really. You had to really go inside. First
Not
of all,
for the whole time.
Not the whole time. We left at 6, I think.
Yeah, that was a good time.
And that was a good time to leave. I would have been, because I really wanted to do my puja, but we could have left a little earlier, and before the cars are on the road, and you get a little bit more of that. But
maybe
it's
I should
the
do
same
that
thing.
right after Mangalarti breakout at 5 or whatever.
That would be the best thing.
You know what I was struck by though? Can I share?
Please.
Was yesterday when we were out in Vrindavan, this Maharaj was taking us around, and he had mentioned how he's like, you know, nobody goes hungry in Vrindavan, like no monkey, no dog, no person. And it was like the whole time going around the Prikram trail, they're just like people offering chai, you know, free chai to the pilgrims. To the pilgrims. Well, the monkeys were certainly getting their share of all the goodies always, as they do. But you know, there's like free chai, there's kitchery, there's just like sort of.
They're giving out lattes today.
Yeah, people are serving.
This is the plan. Tomorrow morning before you guys go, you set up a little chai stand for the monkeys. Only monkeys. Monkey seva. Monkey chai seva.
The cows come over. Sorry.
It would be easy. It's actually harder to keep the monkeys away.
All right. Well, maybe I'll do that when I get there. I'll do that breakout at 5 a.m. and.
You know what I think we're going to do tomorrow, sir? If you go down to the Prikram Trail,
Gopi Janavallabha Mandir.
Listen
you didn't go there, did you? You didn't go there. No,
but where Varaha Ghat is, what's it called? Varaha Ghat, I think it's called. Where that Varaha temple is on the beginning of the Prikram Trail. If you take a right, instead of taking a right, you take a left. And you go to Sabari Muni's ashram. Ever do that one?
Okay. Yeah.
Sabari Muni's ashram in the middle of nowhere. Sit up there, watch the Yamuna. It's breathtaking. We sat today by the Yamuna and we chanted Yamunastakam. It was super nice.
Oh, very nice. Now when you see, this is the thing, right? You guys, you like to chant those prayers when you're at home back in Super Soul. And now when you do it, you're going to be sitting in Vrindavan. Just by chanting those mantras again, you're going to be in Vrindavan.
I agree. So it's important to come in contact with these holy places. That way, when you do chant these mantras, you're like, oh, yes, I'm here. I'm here again. Really good.
That's
still reading and listening to lives of Vaishnava acharyas and Vaishnava saints.
Okay.
It's really
Okay.
sort of made this whole part of this little last final chapter of our trip really sweet, like anything.
Yeah.
Oh, you two going around the
Yeah,
holy places together.
Yeah. Trying to
That's
find
awesome.
the best chai.
Yeah.
No, trying to find the best lassi.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm over lassies. I think
Hopefully-
Govardhan had the best lassies.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, I go in and out of different Vrindavan street foods.
You really
Yeah.
do.
I do. I do. This year,
What was that?
I-
Chila or whatever that you like?
Sheelam,
Yeah.
Sheelam was one of them. I got over that. Then this year, Shobadam. I don't know if
Oh,
you
yeah.
pronounce it right. You know, tapioca. They make a fried tapioca. What do you call that? Shubadam?
Tiki, like a tiki?
No, that's a potato.
Oh,
no, those are
sabudan.
the aloo
Sabudan
tiki.
khichdi.
Sobadan. It's like a tapioca khichdi. You know, now I'm going for Daiwada tonight. Tonight we're going out because my deity. You know what's interesting? I went to Doyal Prabhu or Prabhu
Okay,
Doyal,
Prabhu.
the famous deity maker.
Oh yeah, he made my.
Yeah, I went
deities.
to him.
You see that photo I have with him? You seen that?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
It's a
Cool,
he's a
man.
famous deity maker in Vrindavan. That
He's the
Kaustubha
best.
got the Lord Chaitanya deities that we both have.
No, not from
and-
him.
Oh,
No,
you
no,
didn't
no.
get that from
They were from Shriji Jewelers.
Acha.
My Gorni Thai deities, Nitai Navadu Chandra, I bought it Yamuna Prasad around the corner
Okay.
because I couldn't afford them from him. Like him straight out, it's just like really expensive. But then I bought deities elsewhere and I brought them to him and he made them finer, made all the details.
Oh,
Nice.
really? Well, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Well, he's painting my Nrsingadev deity.
He paints.
I guess so. I said, "Do you
Or he
paint?"
has someone there.
No, he said, "Do you paint?" He goes, "Yes." He just stood. He very thoughtfully just
Yeah.
looked at the
Oh, yeah.
deity,
He's for
very
real.
thoughtfully, and he's just saying, he's telling how he'll paint it, and then he said, "This deity is very old, very
Oh.
old." And
Well,
you know,
this is from
Indrajumna Swami,
Indrajumna Swami. Yeah,
Indrajumna Swami gave it to us, and they said they found this Nrsingadev deity in the Narmada River.
yeah. Very old Raghunath. Powerful.
Very old, valuable.
And you
Powerful.
worshipped him several lifetimes ago. What?
never
You know, it breaks my heart just hearing this.
What?
It's just a few doors down from there. There used to be Satyanarayana Six Fingers, and he's no longer there. Another, this beautiful man. He
Other
was a
pillar of
best tailor.
Vrindavan Brajbasis. Well, he had the advantage of that sixth finger.
I don't know if that six finger helped, but he had six fingers on each hand. He had like an extra pinky that came kind of out of the side of his hand. And I did see him sometimes,
Was it
like
functional?
Well, I once saw like he would kind of loop the tape measure through there. So he did have 5-finger functionality and then an extra tape
Right.
measure holders. So,
It's
I don't
useful.
know, maybe it was
It's
helpful.
useful.
But he was a sweet Vaishnava. Passed away.
Mm. I
Most
remember something like that.
skillful tailor there in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's still not too late to make memories. Come to Vrindavan,
It's
meet
never
the
too
people
late.
of Vrindavan, go to Govardhan Hill, go to Radhakund, meet these people, eat with them, glorify, and it changes you. It changes your practice when you get back home.
I want
Just
to hear
to
from
buy a
Mara.
flower garland. The flower garland guy is so
He's
sweet.
so sweet.
And he was like, just
Is that
showing
the same
us
flower
different-
garland guy that we talked about on the show?
I
don't.
was wondering if it was actually.
With the
I gotta
nice
go back and
mustache?
compare
Got a
photos.
nice
Yeah, he
mustache?
does have a nice
Yeah, he's
mustache.
got a
That was
nice
probably
mustache.
him.
I bet it
Tell him we
is.
talked
This
about
guy-
him on the podcast.
Yeah.
This guy is beautiful, and his flowers are great. Just beautiful wreaths of tulsi. And yesterday we got what were those?
Orchids and jasmine.
Imagine an orchid and jasmine flower garland.
Wow.
Breathtaking. For 200 rupees? For $3? Come on.
Now, I got a question for Mara.
Yes.
So, Mara, what's it like for you seeing many places in Vrindavan for your first time with Raghunath as the tour leader?
It's wonderful.
He's
I mean,
good,
I've heard
huh?
so many stories. I mean, I've been here before, but the last couple times we've traveled more in Govardhan, and so I feel like I have more of an affinity with Govardhan Hill than I do with Vrindavan. But I've heard so many stories, and we just finished listening to Raghu's audiobook, and there's so many great Vrindavan stories that it's like, I was like, oh man, are we actually going to see Hari Bhajan's ashram?
I know. I know.
But
I know.
You know, one of the things was when we were walking past, speaking of like the beautiful, beautiful people of Vrindavan, we walked past this like, you know, usually it's like a whole bunch of sadhus kind of sitting together on the sides, but there was this group of women who were probably like in their 60s or 70s sitting, and they were just at least one of them was knitting something and singing bhajans and just like so joyful and
Like
beautiful.
6 joyful,
Yeah.
toothless women.
Yeah.
Maybe 11 teeth between the 6 of them, you know, and then just singing and singing. And I just like, why aren't I recording
Great.
this?
Yeah, they
And
were great bhajans.
And I remember in the old days, before there was iPhones and easy way, I had a big Radio Shack tape recorder, and I used to take it around with me and just walk into temples and just record beautiful morning sounds of Vrindavan.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was very, very special. These are the things that we want to rest in our mind forever. We want to remember.
Did you go to Radha Raman Mandir?
We're going to do that tonight because we have to pick up the deity tonight. We haven't really gone out at night.
From Prabhu Dayal?
Yeah, we're going to pick up the deity from Prabhu. We'll probably go to Radha Raman and some other secret temples, perhaps.
You know what I got from Prabhu Dayal that you should consider? See if he's got it. You ever see those little brass cows that I have on my altar?
Yeah, you like those brass cows.
They're nice.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's where I got them. I got them from him. They're like, they got a great look to them and good size. Right, put one right next to your Sheila there and be very happy. We're gonna bring a cow home. Bring a cow home.
Yeah.
Oh my cow.
Yeah. I'm thinking of getting one of those little decorated baskets. Every lady in Vrindavan has now those little decorated, almost like an Easter basket.
Like a mini Easter basket.
And they bring their Gopal deity around, put them on their head. And
that's the thing. It's more than ever people are doing that. It's like everywhere.
It's so Vrindavan's out of control. Like so much in a bad way, you can say it's a little out of control, but in a great. I mean, I went to that temple that the 6:30 Artik is the one where all the kirtans are going on. The entire temple was standing room only, practically.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Packed.
Mayapur too.
Packed, out of control, and people, and just like hundreds, if not thousands, just clapping and clapping and clapping and losing. It looked like if I wasn't part of this religion, I'd be like, I want to join these guys. I don't know what they believe, but I believe whatever gives you what they have, that's what I want.
Some of that.
It was like that. It was like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I told you privately, but I'm getting messages from people who you and I
that was
never were like we always thought we were nuts and kooky. We're like just like I really like what you're into. I'm really interested, because everybody follows each other on Instagram and social media.
In other words, Raghu's been posting some things online, and someone who, in one sense, is a very influential person.
Not just him, but other people too.
You told me about?
Not that I told you about, but him and other people, just positive, because here's the deal.
Don't tell me Billy Psycho is writing to you saying, hey, man.
Billy Psycho's not writing me, not Billy Psycho yet, but no, I'm waiting for it. You never know.
You never know.
But the thing is, the material world, it crushes a lot of romanticism of material life. All the things you hope to fulfill your heart don't fulfill you. And you're like, all you're left to do is like become bitter. And I get it, because you can even get bitter at religion. People get bitter in Bhakti if they had a bad experience. But if you can really hold on to the essence of everything the Bhagavatam teaches, you don't get bitter. You don't get bitter. You just see some people have some shortcomings, but you don't get bitter at Krishna and Krishna's teachings. Matter of fact, you fall more and more in love.
Take it a little bit by the hand, right? And say, no, we're going to see everybody, it's a whole wide range of people that are trying their best. You're going to meet sincere people. You're going to meet some insincere people. You're going to meet people that are like the most mind-blowing, sweet-hearted, kindest, opening you up to incredible new depths in your own spiritual. And you're going to meet people that you're like, oh, that was really disappointing. And it's all going to be there. The idea is that someone there's in our life to help us figure out how to sniff out that connection. That's where we're really going to thrive, connected to.
And I always warn people, and this is not a sales tactic either, don't just go to Vrindavan on your own. Go with myself or with Kaustubha or with a group of people that are into Bhakti. because you won't get that taste. And if you don't get the taste for Vrindavan in this lifetime, it's an incredible loss. It's the most, it's the or if you have a bad experience, you go there, I'm a backpacker checking stuff out. I met something weird, I got sick, and you have a bad experience. It's such a bad thing. You need to get a taste of Vrindavan by somebody who has a taste. And I appreciated that today because I'm looking at Mara, who in one sense is, steady like anything, but relatively new into all this stuff, relatively new. And she has a taste for Vrindavan. I see it. She's excited to be at Govardhan. She's excited to walk barefoot. She's excited to like go to holy places. And that taste has been like given to us, and it gets passed down. And that taste is the most valuable thing, because that's what you want to be meditating on at the time of death. That's what, and during the times of life.
It was a little bit of a bittersweet day for me here, because I'm just realized, okay, it's the last time for, I've been here, came in mid-October, so it's been 4.5 months ago I came.
That's pretty cool that you've been there for it's very cool. You've been there for 4.5 months.
And okay, last time going to the Ganga, saying goodbye to the Pujari, trying to do a few thoughtful things, give a little here, give a little there, try to make someone happy over here, try to make someone happy over there, try to remember something, say a prayer here, say a prayer there. Those kind of things, they feel very edifying. But it is, look at the room I'm in right now.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been my home, since mid-October. Hey, and another thing, when you enter into this a community of bhakti yogis, you begin to have friends all over the world. And what a friend Tara is. He just took me in. He's provided all my meals. He's provided my home, everything that I need. He
sent me the bill. He sent me the bill.
There you go.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
And and been nothing but pleasant. And it's one thing to bring someone over for a weekend or a week. It's another thing, some guy moves into your house for 4.5 months,
Yeah.
But this is a real friend, and it's been, I'm very grateful for people like that in my life.
Yeah.
All right.
Mayapur, Vrindavan. So happy I have them in my life. I'm eager to come. I'm not even left yet. I'm eager to come back. That's how I'm feeling right now.
And another thing that I'm feeling is now I haven't been to Rishikesh in 15 years. So I'm going to Rishikesh for the first time in a very long time. And like we're saying at the end of the show yesterday, I don't know if it made it on the recording, but I don't know where I'm going. I don't, I know someone there is going to take care of me, but I don't know if I'm sleeping on the floor. I don't know if I'm, what I'm eating. It's nice sometimes to just put yourself in God's hands and accept what comes, and open yourself up for the experience. So that's how I go now to Rishikesh. And I'm really looking forward to going there, and looking forward to going to Vrindavan after that. I got
You gonna bathe in the Ganga? You gonna bathe in the Ganga?
What do you think? Of course.
All right. It's nice and cold. Do some Wim Hof breathing before you get in there.
All right.
It's cold.
I don't know how to Wim Hof breathe.
Oh, then you're in trouble. It's cold and blue this time of year.
Now announcements. Do we do some?
I'm excited for you. Mara, announcements. Guess who we had lunch with this morning?
Who?
Ladini Shakti. Ladini Shakti. He listens to the show all the time. He lives. Well, you know what happens? He was visiting here, and he said, "Prabhu, I need to talk to you. I heard your podcast yesterday. All the excitement about Vrindavan and the story about Lala Babu. Now, if you missed the story yesterday, Lala Babu was a very wealthy businessman in Calcutta who grew up a devotee. This is like in the 1800s. He grew up a devotee, but he got into big business. He stopped thinking about his spiritual life, and then one day, he was standing on these steps, and a poor sweeper woman. He was sort of standing right in front of the sweeper woman, and the sweeper woman said, "Move along. The sun is setting. Time to go. Like move out of my way so I can sweep. I have to go to bed, or I have to finish my job." But when he heard that, because of those samskaras as a child, he's like, "Move along. The sun is setting. This is God talking to me." And he sold his business or gave everything away, built a beautiful temple in Vrindavan, and left and retired and died in Vrindavan.
Okay.
So anyway, Ladini Shakti, who I've known since I joined the temple. He's a disciple of
He's a
Tamal
real
Krishna Maharaj.
bohemian, right? He's like a.
Oh, he's like,
You know, he actually wears a beret and writes poetry and.
oh, he's right. He's a writer.
Sweetest
He's
devotee.
a sweetest
Dear
devotee
friend.
you'll ever meet.
Dear
And
friends.
I
Yeah.
never knew this, but he's one of these guys who looks like he's 40 years old, and he's what, like
He's like in
70
his
something
70s.
years old.
He's in his 70s.
And
yeah.
and I didn't know this, but he said, "Oh yeah, I met Prabhupada in 1967. I had made
Yeah.
chapatis at 26 Second Avenue." I was like, "You're kidding," but he goes, "Yeah, I went there. I got into chanting. I had one. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but yeah, he had an experience that he said, I'm turning to God. I was an atheist. I'm turning to God." And then he met the devotees, but ended up getting to Maharishi for many years and became sort of a big teacher with Maharishi. But then he got very attracted back to Bhakti later. So anyway, to make a long story short, he said, "I heard your podcast and you talked about Lalu Babu and the sun is setting." And I thought, this is me. The sun is setting. I'm not, clinically ill or chronically sick, or, I'm going to die that anytime that I know of. The doctor hasn't pronounced anything, but the sun is setting in my life. Who am I kidding? And I'm really thinking I'm just not going to leave Vrindavan now. And it was, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to, hear these people like Lala Babu and like Ladini Shakti, who hear these statements, and we hear them, you and I hear them, but all of a sudden it's like the puzzle piece snaps in place.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yep, now I've been hearing this, I've been entertaining this thought in my mind, but now I'm going to act out. I'm going to pull the trigger. I was always sort of like ready, aim, and I never pulled the trigger on anything. And now I'm going to pull the trigger. All this stuff that we talk about on a regular basis, guess what? Some of us, we got to really pull the trigger with that. And we got to figure out what that trigger we got to pull.
Mara,
what trigger
pull
we got
the trigger.
to pull. Pull the trigger.
Don't just sit there.
What the heck was that? Just sit there. Sometimes we got to pull the trigger. And we've been holding off. I'm still aiming. Not me. I got time left.
Back
Now, Mara,
to our takeaways.
pull the trigger on the takeaways. or not on the takeaways, on the announcement.
Yeah. All right. So today we have our asana class, Cult of Cain Asana, for Patreon members at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Online Bhakti Recovery Group meetings at 12:30 and 1, and in-person BRG meeting this evening at the Bhakti Center if you're in New York.
Woohoo.
Also, there's no show. No shows Saturday or Sunday. We'll be back on Monday.
We think we'll be back on Monday.
Yes.
We're
well,
not
we
sure.
don't have to take
It
3
depends
days
how
off. when we
jet
go.
lagged I am.
None. The jet lag's going to help you.
Well, I want to Kaustubha to get some rest because he's going to be in Rishikesh. He doesn't know where he's
He doesn't
eating,
know
where
where
he's
he's
sleeping.
We're going to be fine.
So it might be
people.
best. We'll see. We'll see.
You guys are freezing up a little there somehow. Not the sound, but the picture.
Are we?
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm going to turn off
let's-
people's cameras.
I say we go for 6 a.m. on Monday. You can do it. It's going to work for you. Jet lag is just totally working for you.
No.
No, we shutting down the cameras?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, your jet lag will be
Goodbye,
your friend.
beautiful people.
Yeah.
Will it?
So maybe we'll be back at 6 a.m. Eastern time on Monday.
Will it?
Okay.
All right. Are we going to do the
Yeah.
nugget, or that whole thing was sort of a nugget? I think
No,
it's too
no.
late for
The
a
nugget
Let's go to
plays
the
in with that.
Bhagavatam.
Let's do the nugget because I think it's going to work with it, Raghunath. Or do you want to hold the nugget? Let's go into Bhagavatam and I'll use the nugget in the Bhagavatam. You there?
Use the nugget. Don't let the nugget use you. You use the nugget. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. We can hear you.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim. Oh,
Saraswati
there's a
Vyasa.
delay. Devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is every means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesh Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, we establish as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. From obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 25, Mr. K.
We just lost your camera,
Sorry,
right?
we lost our camera, but it'll be right back on. Yep.
It's all right. Okay.
All right. Should I read the nugget?
Let's
Maybe
go.
just read the nugget. Yeah?
All right.
Yeah?
Okay.
You with me?
Read the nugget.
Be
Are
the
you happy?
nugget. How about that?
Are you happy to
Be
hear
the-
the nugget? I want you to be happy.
Read the nugget.
You sound annoyed
Yeah.
for some reason. What's going on?
I'm
What
eager.
happened? Okay. So this is from Alexander
I'm
Graham
eager.
Bell.
I'm nugget hungry.
You know who Alexander Graham Bell
Okay.
is, right?
Sure, he had a lot of wise things to say.
Do you know
Yeah,
who
well, he made
was?
Bell Telephone, Bell Laboratories. He
Well,
created the
he
telephone.
had the patent. I mean, he was the person that kind of invented the telephone. There may have been other people that are.
Everybody created it. You know, it's like a mad race for who's going to invent it first.
He got the patent for it in any case. So this is what he says, Raghunath. And we're going to relate this to Bhakti, and we're going to relate it to the Bhagavatam. And I think we can relate this to you and Mara chanting the
The
Yamunastakam
life.
at Subari Muni's ashram. I think we can relate this to our dear friend Ladini Shakti
Okay.
Prabhu. Hearing your talk about the sun is setting, time to move on, and it dropping into his consciousness in a way that touched his heart and moved him to accelerate the focus of his spiritual life. Alexander Graham Bell says, concentrate all your thoughts upon the work at hand. The sun's rays do not burn until brought into a focus, right? Like when you have a magnifying glass, you can burn leaves, like that. You get that
Sure.
beam of light, focus beam of light.
Yeah.
So our mind, this is the way yogis think.
Yep.
This is the way a lot of wise people have thought for centuries, that, I can't control the results of my activities. But what I can do is I can focus my mind on what I'm doing and then be detached, right? And yoga is so much about that focus. The different practices that we do. Now we're in the midst of a couple of verses spoken by Prahlad when his father asked him the question number 3 in this chapter. His father said, "What was the best thing you learned in school today again? What have you learned?" And he named 9 different meditative practices, right? All designed specifically for remembering and fostering devotion for Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. It's like, what are you talking about? Where'd you get this? But we should understand that these aren't just like random religious actions or random religious customs, but they're meditative practices that are designed by great sages, in order to bring the mind, to focus our thoughts, to concentrate our thoughts on the most captivating and powerful force, that of Sri Krishna, the origin of all existence. That's what's happening. So when we heard Shravanam, you're hearing about him, Kirtanam, chanting about him, Smarnam, remembering him. These are just like the sun rays when they're focused, they burn. When we begin to take our attention, which just wanders everywhere and is looking for all kind of ridiculous people to focus on, or ridiculous events to get captivated by, or silly, nonsensical,
Ridiculous.
ridiculous, unimportant stuff. that captivates us.
Unimportant.
No, we got to pull it in and focus it right where it's going to be like it's ready to burn, and that will burn away all of the lifetimes of impressions in the mind of all of that nonsense, and burn away all our desires that do us harm, that distract us from experiencing our own true blissful devotional spiritual love, which is in us and is our nature. It's going to burn away all that extra stuff. Prahlad Maharaj, he's heard it from Narada. Narada's heard it from Brahma. Brahma got it in a seed-like form from Lord Vishnu. This is the Guru Parampara that's being handed down, and now Prahlad he's fluffing it out. He's kind of like expanding on it here, and there it is. Vyasadeva later records it in Bhagavatam so that we can learn about these different past Prabhupada comments on them. And you'd like to add some thoughts there, Raghunath? I want to hear what you got to say. I can't hear you.
The sun's going through the magnifier. You can't hear me?
You're a little choppy.
Testing.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Our
Yeah.
internet connection's weak. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, brother? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the idea of the magnifying glass, that it really got to fine tune it to make it useful or do what it needs to do, to be like a laser and burn something. Our minds are like that. The scattered mind is so ineffective. And I was thinking about, sometimes it takes, like, I'm trapped in a burning building, or I'm like in the 101st floor of 9/11, during 9/11, the thing is bursting into flames. What is it going to take? What type of disastrous thing is it going to take for me to actually realize, Krishna, I need you? That desire, Krishna, I need you. I need you now. That urgency. And that's what we have to practice when things don't appear urgent. When things appear like everything's fine, it's a beautiful sunny day today, perfect weather, not too cold, not too hot, that's when we have to chant like we're about to jump out of the window of a burning building. Like, Krishna, I need you so desperately. We have to feel that desperation. If you don't practice it while things are okay, you're not going to have it. Even when things get tough, your mind will be distracted, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's easy to be distracted even when it's like you're dying. I mean, I remember Gopal Chandra, who I think had an incredibly auspicious leaving his body, but I was with him when he was dying of cancer, or at least his body was dying. And I watched him also being distracted. And I say, hey, come back. Let's, put that aside.
Focus.
Yeah, focus. This is what we've been training for our whole life. Every time you pick up your beads, every kirtan you went to, every time you chanted Om in your yoga class, we've been practicing this for our entire life. And so if we don't get that type of, and this is the beauty about Bhakti, we are really, really fine tuning it like a laser. So in the course of success, good fortune, beautiful family, when everything seems so rosy, that's when we have to feel in our heart a desperate, Krishna, I need you so bad today. Never let go of that desperation, huh? That's what I'm thinking.
All right. Raghunath, what you're saying, it reminds me of a Bhagavatam verse. And I pulled up a commentary from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this verse too.
Okay.
All right.
Tell me.
So maybe this will be our Bhagavatam for today. Let's see. This is spoken, it's really interesting. The Bhagavatam, the first few chapters lay out a lot of important thoughts that get expanded upon throughout the Bhagavatam. Important theological and philosophical conceptions are laid out.
Yeah.
And then we begin to hear about we begin to hear there's chapters that are explaining to us how the Bhagavatam came about, why it came about, what is specifically it's addressing. And that takes us like through up to chapter 7. And then it comes to chapter 8. And from this point on, for the rest of the first canto, it's really setting us up. It's all kind of one setup. But it's the chapters from 8 until, I forget how many chapters are in the first canto, maybe like 16 or something like that. all these chapters are building us up to the introduction of Maharaj Parikshit, right? Who will be the person that asks the question that gets Sukadeva Goswami to speak the rest the Bhagavatam. But so when in chapter 8, it almost feels like the first time it turns into a story. We start to hear the stories, you know, and it opens up with the prayers. It's like after the battle of Kurukshetra, you know, Yudhishthira has been made king, etc., and Krishna's ready to leave Hastinapur and leave the Pandavas, you know, and that's heartbreaking. And the entire city is out. Krishna's on a chariot. Everybody's simultaneously captivated by seeing him, and at the same time anticipating the separation from him. And Kunti comes out, right? Here's Kunti, right? This glorious woman who's gone through so much struggle in life, and now finally her family has been established back. You know, her sons are now the kings, you know, after you know, like a inconceivable battle that they somehow won by Krishna's grace. And now Krishna's getting on the chariot and he's about to go. And of course, at that time, she says that famous verse, you know, all the calamities that have happened in our lives, let them happen again and again. Because when those calamities come, I get that focus, right? Everything, that magnifying glass gets situated just right, and I'm focused on you. And when I remember you, I'm not distracted and I'm remembering you, then I no longer see birth and death. I transcend the temporary dualities of this world, right?
Sure.
So this is another verse that comes shortly after that. Beautiful scene, right?
A beautiful scene, and the whole Bhagavatam, truthfully, is one royal calamity after another.
a lot of royal calamity.
And I say royal because it deals with the halves. It deals with Gajendra, the king of the elephants. It deals with Draupadi and Queen Kunti. It deals with Prahlad, who's the young prince. It deals with Dhruva, all royalty. You know, it's interesting because we have this idea of privilege, and it's a huge thing, like white privilege or male privilege, or guess what? Privilege doesn't. Why is wealth the only metric of what privilege is? You know, like we measure. There's wealthy people who are miserable. They might have a leg up and they can have more stuff, but they could just be equally as miserable or have a horrible parents or have a horrible upbringing just because they have some money. We have a different idea, a different metric of what real privilege is. Privilege is you're born into a family of devoted, of spiritual parents. That's the highest thing you can have. And we also say that even if you're not, you can say, you know what? Now I want it. And you see this in Vrindavan.
You see that Sangha. Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing, I think, with Vaishnavism is climbing the economic ladder is so secondary to climbing the ladder for your spiritual soul, your soul's liberation. Because you see people who have nothing and they're destitute and they have
six teeth in their mouth and singing in bliss.
Exactly. Just like the story in Radha Swami's book of Gopi Janavalabha and Ganesham. The guy's got nothing. There. He sleeps in a doorway.
Gotta go there.
You gotta go there. He sleeps in a doorway. I sometimes you see these scathing New York Times articles about like the women of Vrindavan. I saw something like that. I was like, oh, they're horrible, living in destitution. Guess what? Destitution is relative. Destitution compared to who? To us living in a condo.
Yeah, to a woman sitting in some kind of in a hospital at the end of her life, or sitting in
alone,
some kind of old folks' home where she gets no company and no.
You get some nurse perhaps who doesn't care about you, not a blood relative or something like that. But when you're bonded by God, and you've been studying your whole life that actually there's nobody but this Krishna, it's actually quite beautiful. It's actually a quite beautiful culture.
Okay, I'm going to read my verse, Raghunath. You ready? From Queen Kunti. Spoken by Queen Kunti to Krishna as he's on the chariot about to go. She
Okay.
says, Tvayi me nanya vishaya, matir madhu pate sakrit, ratim udva hatad adha,
Mhm.
gange vaugham udanvati. Let my mind, with attention fixed on no other object, repeatedly carry its affection to you, the chief of the Madhu dynasty, just as the Ganga, the river Ganga, carries its full stream of water to the ocean.
Really
Right?
does.
It's another. It's another. What's that?
It really does.
What does?
The Ganga.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it really
Okay.
does.
So thank you for that. Yeah,
Thanks.
it's another. It's again. It's like getting your mind flowing in one direction. She's saying, because she says this. She had the previous verse. She said, "Let my family affections be broken, my family ties." Right. Which
Yeah.
sounds like a very Gyannic kind of, less a bhakti approach, more Gyannic approach, right? Like
Sure.
breaking, with an analyzing that my relationships are temporary and they're unreal, and I want those to break so that I'm no longer in ignorance and I become free. But the commentary by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur kind of expands on that. He writes, he says in response to the previous thing where she was saying, break my ties for my relatives, he writes a question, then do you want realization of Brahman? Is that what you want? Do you want this impersonal realization, this impersonal liberation? Because if you cut off your affection for the Yadavas, if you cut off your affection for your family members, you will cut your affection for me also. Okay? Because Krishna is her relative.
Uh-huh.
And so then here's the response. May my mind hold affection, rati, for you without any obstacle. Udva means to flow strongly. The mind should not think of anything else. Your devotees are non-different from you, and thus without affection for them, affection for you cannot take place. This is the bhakti understanding, right? If someone's dear to you, then they're dear to me. If I can't think of you without thinking of them. Thinking of them means thinking of you, because we're all so tied together with connections of love. So she says again, your devotees are non-different from you. She's talking about her own relatives now. Your devotees are non-different from you, and thus without affection for them, affection for you cannot take place. It is not possible that this could please you, my losing my affection for your devotees who are my relatives. Therefore, let my mind have attraction for no one except you and your devotees. Attraction. It's not saying even love, but this is where my interest, this is where my heart goes, right? Especially. I pray to cut the affectionate bonds with the Pandavas and Yadavas. I prayed to cut the affectionate bonds with the Pandavas and the Yadavas who are your devotees. But since it is a prayer in front of you, it means cutting only the material affection, which arises from bodily identification. It is not the cutting of affectionate relation with you. You get that?
Yeah.
All right. I want cut out of my mind the aspect of my connection with my family members that's illusory, that's based simply on the body.
Sure.
But I want to increase the affection that I feel for them that's in relation with you, with God. I want to cut that affection which causes bondage. Just as the Ganga carries a full stream of water to the ocean, the shelter of small and large rivers, may my mind also carry its affection to you, who are the shelter of all the devotees. Just as the Ganga does not consider any obstacles on its course, my mind also should not consider any obstacles that may rise while thinking of you. Nice, huh?
Me likey
like
that.
that?
I do like that.
So again, you and Mara sitting there on the bank of the Yamuna, reading the Yamunastakam, enjoying it. and enjoying each other's company. And that affection that you feel for each other is in no way a hindrance. As a matter of fact, it's helpful, right? Because it's because this is what we do together, right? This is what we do. We remember Krishna, remember Yamuna, who's related to Krishna. This is what we do together. Those bonds are bonds that are pleasing. Those bonds are bonds that are not only pleasing to Krishna, because how we get that focus, it's a dual system, isn't it? It's like our own effort, which is, okay, let's do this instead of doing something else.
Sure.
And then it's grace, right? That we're not these great yogis, but Krishna's, recognizing the effort and feeling merciful grants us this consciousness.
He's
and so
extending a hand for sure.
Yeah. And so when you go back to New York and you're up in upstate New York, a land that could be seen as having no relation to Vrindavan, right? You're chanting those same vibrations that you chanted there, and you're vibrating on the Vrindavan level. You're vibrating in the same consciousness as you were when you were there in Vrindavan. And so that's why I'm saying what we're hearing from Prahlad about Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the 9 practices of Bhakti, they're not just like religious rituals meant to appease the god or something like that. They're practices of meditation, very effective practices of concentrating the mind, but in a very pleasing way, in a very satisfying way, in a very aesthetically pleasing way. And that's what we do in Bhakti.
The sounds when you wake up in the middle of the night in Vrindavan, because people sometimes wake up super early, they're just like wild sounds out this window. You hear people chanting mantras and screaming and singing and gongs and, peacocks. It's just like nonstop sound.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question for you, Raghunath.
Yeah, tell me.
So all those years ago, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when we used to walk around Vrindavan every morning, circumambulate, as you would approach the Yamuna River, there was always that one person sitting in a little hut chanting Om Namo Shivaya. Remember that?
Yep, I wrote that in my book as well.
Oh, no
We
kidding.
used to chant Hari Om Namo Shivaya, Hari Om Namo Shivaya. It was like the first speaker in Vrindavan. It was
That
like they
come out
lived
every
in
morning.
a tent. They lived like in a tent,
Yeah.
and they lived on the banks of the Yamuna, and they would just chant Om Namo Shivaya nonstop 24/7.
But then one year we came back, and they had switched.
What did they switch?
They switched to
Sitaram, Sitaram,
or
Sitaram,
was it
Jai
Sitaram or
Sitaram,
was it
Radhe
Sham?
Sham,
Yeah,
Radhe Sham,
okay, yeah.
Radhe Sham, Jai Radhe.
Yeah.
I have
So they
recorded. I
switched.
know all these. They switch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So are they still there? That's my question.
They're not. I was just thinking about them today.
You see
They're
that?
not. They're
Oh.
not. They're not
You
there.
probably got-
Certain-
who
No,
knows what
seasons
happened.
change. They're all dead.
Maybe
These
they
people
died.
were old. They're all dead. You know what I mean? Most likely. I mean, I'm running into rickshaw
likely.
wallet guys who are waving to me, and they're like, "Don't you remember? I was 8 years old." I was like, "Oh my god."
They were probably
remember-
driving rickshaws at 8 years old.
They were driving rickshaws at 8 years old.
Do you remember that after you would go through Keshigat, come around, go through the town a little bit, and then just before you get to the Jagannath temple, there'd be one corner you'd have to turn, and there are these vicious dogs, like really vicious dogs.
We went by the. Yes, I do. I was chased by those dogs once.
I would carry a stick the entire time just because I knew when I get to that corner, I need to bang that. You just bang the stick on the ground, and the dogs kind of.
I banged the stick on the ground once and it snapped, and then they all went after me. And I just ran. But I will say this: we went by that Jagannath temple today. We went by there. We went into the, where they do the wrestlers. That place, in
Wrestlers
Bikram
gym.
Path, the wrestlers, the wrestling gym, outdoor gym.
And then the
That's still there.
and that other ashram there where it's all sandy. What's that place called?
Yeah.
That was there.
Yeah.
That place is incredible. What's it called again?
Tatiastan.
Tatiastan.
Tatiastan. Look at Mara.
Mara's on that.
I like that place too, also.
It's
That place is
incredible.
great. They
Yeah.
just sweep the sand, the dust of Vrindavan every day.
They live there. And they cover their bodies with the dust of Vrindavan.
Mm.
We saw a guy at Govardhan Hill.
Yeah.
Like we approached, like no one was on the trail practically, and there was a guy in a dhoti and no shirt on, and he's just like pouring dirt all,
Like he was like he looked like he was actually washing himself with the dust.
with the Vrindavan dust.
You
And we
know?
just had read something about those who take the dust and
Yeah.
smear it on their body. We just read that.
We had just read
And
that.
here he is. It's like he's taking a bath and he's scrubbing himself with the
Yeah.
dust on his hair and his face. And I was like,
He was
man-
very serious
I was
about
like,
it. I've
this
seen people
man
roll in
gets
the
it.
dust,
This
but
man gets it.
He was very serious. He took
It's
it to a new level.
He took it to a new level. Like he might have to yes.
Do you think that he cared at all for public opinion as he was doing this?
No.
I don't think he was doing it to impress us. He didn't even
I
know
mean,
we were.
I mean the other way.
coming.
Like, do you
Like,
think?
wait,
that
I'm gonna
he-
roll in the dust. I think they're gonna think I'm cool.
Like he may have stopped if he had known we were coming.
No,
Is
yeah,
that what he's
no.
asking? No, I don't think
No.
so. He didn't seem to
No,
care
he
either
didn't.
way.
He didn't even. I said hello to him, and he was just sort of like in his own world. He was in his own beauty there. And it's you see people like that at Govardhan Vrindavan. They're just in that. They're in their own world, and like the whole world has stopped for them. That's a beautiful place to be. And and truthfully, it's like after a year of being single after my marriage, I was thinking, oh, am I going to be a sannyasi? Am I going to be a vanapras? Or is it like I'm putting on saffron or something? Or am I going to get married again or something? And I thought, I got to this point where like, I don't think I'm going to be, it's not going to help me in my bhakti. And I think this is what we have to always look for. What will help me in my bhakti? And to have a partner helps me in my bhakti. That doesn't mean I can lean into Mara or my partner as my God, but it means that you do things together that are connected in bhakti. So it's sort of I still have children, so I'm raising my kids. I'm working in the world, but our recreation that we enjoy is our bhakti, and
Yeah.
and that's an important thing. It's an important thing. So we all have these duties of the material world, and then we have these like deeper duties, but ultimately it is just me and God, Mara and God, Kaustubha and God, and no one's going to save us from that. We have to really become determined and be, you know what? I need you, Krishna. I need you in my life so bad. Please come to me. And that has to be our personal petition to Lord Krishna, to Radha and Krishna, to develop that Braj Bhakti, that desire to be in love with Krishna and the devotees. And there is that desire that we get. And then there also is that extended hand that Krishna gives, that grace that Krishna gives too.
Oh, nice. You know that verse that you mentioned about bathing in the dust, smearing the dust.
Yeah.
That's in this chapter that we're reading.
Ooh.
And it's the response to the fourth question, where Hiranyakashipu will ask Prahlad, he'll say, "You rascal, most fallen of our family, if you had not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten it?" Right? And I would just read this. It's just a few verses, but you get to that.
We didn't
verse.
get to
He
one
says-
verse today, did we? No.
Well, we did the Queen Kunti. Now I'm going to do a few others. So even though we're late,
No, it's okay. That's Bhagavatam.
he says,
It's all the
because of-
Bhagavatam.
It's all the Bhagavatam. Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialist. This is Prahlad speaking to his father. People too. These are important verses. People too addicted. When Lord Chaitanya would hear this, Sri Damodar Goswami would read it to him, and he would just say, "Read it again. Read the whole chapter again. Read the whole chapter again.
Double it."
Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Very important metaphor. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. Persons who are strongly entrapped by their consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to the external sense objects cannot understand the goal of life, and that cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the loving service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men, guided by another blind man, miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruit of labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries, unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnavas, completely freed from material contamination. Persons very much inclined toward materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way can one be freed from material contamination. That's what that person was meditating on when they were doing that, right?
You know, we should start the show Monday with that verse. That's such a good. That'll be our nugget Monday. That same verse.
It'll come soon. Yeah,
we got to go though. We're overtime. People have places to go.
Right.
We're trying to keep everyone happy in their bhakti by not going over.
You gonna go to Gopijana Vallabha temple?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ish.
I think you'd like it, Raghunath.
Yeah, ish. I don't know where it is. No one knows where that temple is.
I can tell you roughly where it is. You just have to.
We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. Tell them.
Why
let them. They need to go home and do their life. They have to go to work.
When do you let the Zoomers ever leave here?
Secondly, Raghu is so.
Well, no, because people like to feel like, you know what? I did the Bhagavatam, now on with life. But they won't get off if we don't give them the official out.
You don't say. You don't say.
Well, I don't care. I'll talk forever. But the people who are like, I need to end with the Bhagavatam. I need my takeaways. Give them their takeaways, Kaustubha. Give them their takeaways.
Thank you for sharing that lesson, Raghunath. I will keep that in mind for the future reference.
Give them their takeaways. That's what I'm saying. That's the takeaway.
Okay. Oh, by the way, people can bring their cameras back on now too.
Yeah, people can turn.
Bring them on.
All right, man,
let Vrindavan rest in your mind.
Let Vrindavan pull the trigger.
That's coming at the end.
Oh, that was the ending one?
Yeah,
oh, Raghunath, you pulled the trigger too
pulled
quick.
it too soon.
I pulled the trigger. You know why? I pulled it. Pull the damn trigger. Krishna's been telling you for years to pull the trigger, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to pull it when I'm old. Guess what? You're old.
Pull that thing.
You're old. Karuna, you're old too. Crazy 10-year-old.
All right, man. What's next? Now she's got to come up with another and.
Hold on to the essence of the Bhagavatam to avoid bitterness.
Pull it.
Okay.
Meditate on Vrindavan in life and in death.
Meditate.
Focus our mind and thoughts like the sun rays in a magnifying glass.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Folks.
What disaster?
That was us. That was us imitating a magnifying glass.
Thank you.
Well, it's the leaf burning, you know.
Burn away our distractions.
There you go.
What disaster will it take to make me urgently cry out for Krishna?
Maybe none. That's why practice it when everything's fine, when there is no urgency.
Which brings me to my next one. Never let go of desperation, even when things are rosy.
Rosy. Even when they're rosy.
Cut out the illusory affection.
Yeah.
And
one
day Karuna will get old too.
Yeah.
Yes, you will, Karuna. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Monday. And guess what?
What?
My book is available for pre-order. Go to Amazon.com. Put in Ray Capo Raghunath, Punk to Monk. If you already ordered it, guess what? Double it. Buy one for a friend. We want this thing to be on a New York Times bestseller list. And guess what? It's a good way. It's a good way to like reach out to people who you feel like, you know what? You can say, oh, this is my friend Ray Capo. I think you'll like this book. And the whole thing is Krishna. But it's easy. If you give someone a Bhagavad Gita, they'll be like, I can't read this. Give them this book. I think you're going to like it. And let's face it, our job is to hold on to Krishna's lotus feet and bring as many people as we can. Life is really short. Let's make something out of this life. So this book is my life, and it's my story, it's my journey, and I really hope you like it. It's also available on Audible. Some of you guys have got it, but there were some sketchy things in it, so they fixed it all.
Well, they didn't fix it all because you're going back down to.
Oh yeah, they didn't fix it all yet, but I'm going down. They're going to patch it in. So, Audible for those who cannot read a book, and the book, which you can get on Amazon.com. And then also Revelation Records is putting out a special edition cover, as well as a Quest for Certainty reissue shelter record, and they're selling it like a special edition bundle. I love that word, bundle. Bundle it, double it, and bundle it.
Double your bundle.
Double your bundle. Double bundle. We should play shelter
Bubble
in
it.
Croatia. That's what we should. Bundle it.
Bubble.
We should do much. Let's do shelter in Croatia. We're all going to be there.
Wait, you're all gonna be
Well, they're going to be in Europe. His judge is playing in Europe. Let's do it, Road Rage. Reach out to Parmanand and Sam.
blowing
Let's go.
Road Rage's mind right now.
Look at
He's
Road
so
Rage's life.
excited.
You know what? That's a great idea. Let's. I'm going to Sarajevo this year, Kaustubha. I'm doing a program in Sarajevo, Bosnia. Or Serbia. Is it Serbia or Bosnia? Bosnia.
Herzegovina.